Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the Coders Startup Podcast, episode number 49. If you want to check out the show notes, coderstartup.com/49. We're doing something a little bit different today. You might already have figured it out. It might sound different, might look different. I don't know. We're trying out this Blab thing, blab.im. In fact, I can even share that we're recording live right now. Myself and Carter is joining us in the studio. I'm doing air quotes with studio. So how you doing, Carter?
I'm good, man.
Long time no talk.
I know. We've had the holidays, the New Year, everything else, but I'm ready to get back into this. I've been missing it.
Good. So I'm trying to figure out how I can share with. I want to share on my. So I'm doing this sort of live. I shouldn't be doing this live. This is a terrible thing for those who are just listening to this. So maybe I'll do this when you get ranting and raving, because we're going to be talking about accounting topics today, which is right in Carter's wheelhouse. He did a little fist pump there, so he's excited.
I'm excited.
So once we get rolling with the tips and tricks with respect to accounting and whatnot today, I'll see if I can actually share this with the followers on the Coder Startup and my own Facebook timeline, and maybe I'll tweet it out. We'll see if we can get anybody live in here, sort of jumping and jiving with us at the same time. So
cool.
Yeah, man. What do you want to talk about? What I figure it's a new year, so we have a lot to that we can do in terms of getting people up and going with their books and whatnot. But what do you think? Yeah,
I think it's so relevant that we're talking about it right now. Wait, I got a weird echo. What about you, Trevor?
I get no echo, but echo on yourself or echo on me?
Yeah, it's an echo on me. It's all right. I'll just roll with it. I'll concentrate very hard.
Well, if you're echoing, I don't want the recording itself to be messed up, though. So
it's a slight echo. I don't know.
Slight echo. Anyway, all right. If you feel like you can roll with it, then so be it.
Yeah, let's just roll with it. Like we said,
right,
this will be the first test with the blab.im app.
That's
so
right.
Yeah, accounting. I think it's so awesome that we're talking about it. I know we've had it on our list for a while as things to discuss, and I think we've a couple of times brought it up. But and I'm more of a finance guy, and so accounting isn't. I don't like collecting all the data, the flow of everything, but I do love analyzing it. I think that's where the fun really, really is. But nonetheless, accounting super, super important. I know a lot of people are probably doing their taxes and all right now, are starting to, just because in the States we have to get that in on the 15th of April every year. What is it there up north?
Same thing.
Is it really the 15th?
Absolutely.
What?
Yeah, man. So Canadians are, I guess they, whoever started it first, we're, either we started first and you guys are following, or you guys started first and we are following. But yeah,
well,
April 15th is our deadline.
Look at that. And I know your taxes are higher than ours. So
for sure, yeah. At least our income tax. So that's interesting, because our income tax, it's a sliding scale, is that the right word? Sliding scale for as you make more, you get taxed more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think our tax rate, the marginal tax rate for the lowest tax bracket, starts around, I'm going to butcher this, maybe 25%.
Okay.
Is that right? And then the next level, which means you're making over like 53 Gs or something like that, then it goes to about 33%. Does that sound about like really high to you, or?
I don't really know, because we do. Yeah, I don't know the exact breakdown. I've looked at it a couple times over the last few months, but it's like, yeah, your first amount is taxed at this percentage, then the amount after that is taxed at that. It's all weird, But that's what we're going to talk about today, because there's so much stuff you can do as a business owner to decrease that tax burden. And by no means are Trevor and I CPAs or any tax professionals, so don't take this as a little disclaimer. Don't. What's up, Trevor?
So I'm giving Carter the timeout just because again, this is the first time we're trying this. Yeah, the internet connection's getting kind of poor. So yeah, I think, did you just switch it to audio only?
Do you want me to?
No, it's still. You're set at audio only now, and it still says it's a poor internet signal. So maybe you can do whatever it is that you need to do on your end to, I don't know, make your internet signal better. I don't know. And then we can pick up from where we left off. Maybe I'll pause the recording, because I'm able to do that here. We'll pause it, and then we'll pick things back up once your internet connection is better. All right, so there you go. Through the magic of technology, I've resumed the recording, and I will re-hand things back over to Carter, who hopefully has a good internet connection now. If it cuts out again, then hey, we'll just have to switch things up and use some other technology. So
Yeah.
take it away, Carter.
Well, we're just on a roll with it. You guys don't need to see my face anyways. Yeah, but I was just giving them a general disclaimer. We're not CPAs. We're not by any means tax experts. So talk with a professional. And hopefully this just gives you some ideas of things to talk about with them. With that being said, yeah, accounting's super, super important because you can cash in on a lot of different benefits as a business owner and hopefully reinvest some of that you would save or just, lower the burden and all the financial side of actually getting the business going and up off the ground. I think one of the things that I wish someone had told me, I think that's how we should approach this show. Trevor, what do you think? I mean, is that like going through things that I wish I knew when I first started and like things that I do now that I give to an accountant and it helps everything crank smoothly? Does that sound good?
I think we can approach it from that as well as because I'm going to come at it from a different angle. So my dad is my CFO and he does my accounting. So do you do your own accounting or do you hire someone? Do you outsource it or?
I hire someone and I have a few recommendations too.
Beautiful. That's great. We'll come at it from both of those angles and we'll just see where it takes us. Cool.
Well, yeah, first things first, if you are not tracking your expenses, start doing so. I would recommend, we're going to have a lot of different like apps we can talk about. There's so much cool stuff that I remember my first business, like there was none of that. And we were like just scraping by trying to stay organized with all the expenditures that we were going through. And I remember I'd spend, once a month, I'd go through all of our bank statements, everything, and categorize every purchase and like create line items and all that fun stuff. Now there's such great little apps that you can put on your phone, on your computer, whatever, that pulls from your actual bank accounts and you can categorize them. One of which that I'm using right now is called the Intuit Self-Employed app. It's fantastic. You can hook up multiple bank accounts. So it's great if you haven't made the transition to having a strictly business bank account. But I also really like it because a lot of times, like if I'm on a business trip or something, I'll forget to use my business debit card and I'll actually use my personal debit card. And because they're both linked to this application, I can just categorize it, like you open it in the screen, you categorize business or personal, and it automatically takes care of all that for you. So it's really, really cool in the sense that it's working in the background and it's almost like a game. It's kind of set up like the Tinder swipe left, swipe right type stuff. So it makes it fun to actually, keep track of all that stuff.
And I'm assuming you can do subcategories or something like that, right? You can do business and then you can categorize it under business.
Yeah. And then it like breaks it down further. And you have to do some of that on the cloud version online when you go on your desktop. But it just keeps it from all piling up, right? Because it used to be that you'd have all these like an Excel breakdown sheet, send this to your accountant. And yeah, it was a pain. And
another question. So this is great for me because myself and my dad use an online app called Wave Accounting.
Yeah.
You've heard of Wave before?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So the issue we have with Wave is that there's a big delay between when I make do a transaction, make a purchase or whatever, and then the time that it actually comes in and gets captured by Wave. Does that same thing happen with, what did you call it? Intuit?
Yeah, it's Intuit Self-Employed app.
Self-Employed, yeah. There's no delay. Like once you make once it shows up on your
debit card, basically.
Yeah, it just pops up in the app and says, hey, what is this? Personal business?
There. Yeah. Another thing I really like about it, and this is something I know, I believe it's Shoebox is another app that's similar to this, where you just take a receipt picture and you can type notes. I had an accountant tell me that basically, there's so much you can deduct, but anything like food or whatever it is, just document the notes. So like if you're at a business lunch, that's a portion of that is tax deductible, right? But you need to document who was there, what was discussed, when it was, right? And that way, if you do get audited, you can be like, hey, this is who was there. This is what we discussed. This is when we did it. And
they're okay with a picture of the receipt, not the actual physical receipt itself.
That's what Shoebox does. So I think that solves like that problem.
Okay, because that's important. That's an important clarification there. That because if I would use this, because right now I'm not really doing a good job at tracking anything with respect to the like taking notes or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So if I could, if I'm allowed, because I don't want to be in a situation where I would take a picture of a receipt
Mm-hmm.
and then do all the notes and then get audited and then have them be like, well, where's the hard copy of the receipt? And I'll be like, well, I don't know. So,
that's I don't have an answer to that question. I'm not sure. The way I do it is I just comb through and I write really detailed notes for every purchase. And hopefully that covers it. But at the same time, I'm pretty I just deduct what I should deduct, right? Like it's not, there's a lot of people who really push the tax laws and stuff, that's fine if that's what you want to do. But for me, it's just like, nah, it's not worth the hassle then going through the audit and everything else. But yeah, so I think the big takeaway here is create some sort of system, right? Create some sort of system that you can rely on, that's predictable, that you know what to do. And just roll with that throughout the year. And that way, when tax season comes along, it's not nearly as big of a hassle. It doesn't take up as much of your time, and you can just make stuff happen that way. The other thing I would do is I would definitely find a tax professional and really ask them the nature of your business and some of the things you have to look out for. Just because there's so many times when in past businesses that I haven't understood depreciation of an asset or the different ways you can account for this or that. And, on paper, maybe you're showing a lot larger of a profit that you think, but then you don't really have the cash to cover the taxes for that or something. That's a big trap that so many entrepreneurs and new businesses get started in, right? Or if you have high accounts receivables, meaning that you have a lot of on paper, this business is accounted for. You've either done a service for them, invoiced them, and waiting for that to get in, or whatever the circumstance might be. But the cash isn't in the bank, so you can't actually pay the taxes out on that.
That would be a cash flow issue.
Cash flow issue. So yeah, the big thing there, speak with an accountant and show them your business, explain to them the cycles, how it works, explain to them some of the questions you have. And it kind of goes back to, I always hear people ask this question, well, how do I know what questions to ask, right? And I think a great solution for this, I would suggest up to 5, but at least 3. Find 3 different accountants to talk to, jot down certain things they say, and you'll get a feel for who understands what you need the best, right? You'll hear certain ones say things and maybe the other one didn't, and you can kind of eliminate that one.
Nice.
Or you can come back and be like, wait, someone said, that we'd want to do a straight line depreciation versus blah, 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 and see how they kind of answer to stuff like that. I think that's just a great way to kind of navigate your way through any unknown waters, unknown charted territories. Certainly with taxes, there's just so much to it.
Yeah, and for the record, ladies and gentlemen, that Carter's a geek when he uses a term like straight line depreciation. I don't know what that is. Do you know what that is? I don't know. Anyway, so first of all, so many questions are popping up in my head. I should be writing them down, but I knew this was going to happen because I'm not strong, obviously, with accounting. I know a little bit about it, but I'm not one with accounting. So
yeah.
You're talking about finding CPAs. The first argument that I would have if I had to go out and find a CPA is how much do they cost and are they worth it? I know that's a bit of a loaded question, but what would a reasonable amount to expect to pay be for an accountant?
Right. So it depends on what you're having them do, right? Most of them go on an hourly rate, and that's going to probably fluctuate depending on the geographical area of expertise, whatever. Again, talk to 5 different ones and you can kind of compare rates and figure out what you're getting there.
Also, Pause.
Mm-hmm.
Ones. What do you mean by ones? Like, are CPAs specifically? Is that the designation you're looking for, or are there other designations?
Say that question again.
Are you looking for CPAs, chartered personal accountants, or professional, or whatever the
or actual like tax companies, like tax management
companies?
or
Okay.
account management companies, accountants.
Do you have examples?
Yeah, I got a few that I can rattle off at the end. But yeah, so there's a lot. It depends on the size of your business too, right? Because there's some companies out there that are for the small size businesses that run an operation where they have a bunch of different accountants underneath. Then there's a lot of individual CPAs, like people who, just they do people's personal tax incomes and small businesses, stuff like that. I remember for my first business, moving company in Cincinnati, we found a great accountant by looking at the material that he was giving his clients before you even did business with them. So going back to the good old marketing, like he had a fantastic lead magnet. He sent out a list and it was like, hey, did you know these, you can deduct these things and blah, blah, blah.
Nice.
Had a nice conversation with him. And he was, I want to say like in the 200s per an hour, but it was totally worth it. Like I loved but when I say that, it only took him like 2 hours to do our taxes, not even that. And I wish I had hired him a lot earlier, because going back to your question, is it worth it? Well, we messed up our taxes a ton with the withholding for employees and stuff. So that created a whole mess, a whole headache. And when you add up how many hours we spent figuring that stuff out, and then like the interest and penalties you have to pay, oh yeah, they're worth it. Like they're worth their weight in gold. But if anything, I would try to find someone that you're comfortable with, right? And it's kind of like a lawyer. Like, ask them if you think you're doing something that's shady, or if you want to do something to maximize a certain amount of your return. Like, be transparent about that, and you'll get a feel for who you're working with. What was the other question? I feel like that was a long-winded answer, Trevor. You said.
I think you covered it. I was just, more or less thinking, if I were to go out right now and had to hire an accountant or an accounting firm or something, what would I do? And I think you covered the basis of, you go out, you find a few in your area, do some Googling. I'm sure you guys are all familiar with the Google, and interview them. I mean, I'm assuming it's free to do the initial, feeling out of the agency or personal, or individual person or whatever, right? Those are free.
I've never like had one that was like, oh, by the way, your initial consultation is X amount. Yeah. Another thing to your point, there's so many now, I feel like there's so many accountants that can really focus on like what your specialty industry is, or your goals in life. So like, let's say that, hey, I want to use real estate as a way to grow wealth and decrease my tax burden, right? There are accountants, there are accounting firms and stuff who specialize in that. Or let's say you're strictly tech based, right? There's accountants who would know you need to do this because like this is our specialty. We understand this side of tax law. So I think that's another thing to keep in mind now. Like, find someone who's focused in an area that relates to what you're doing, but at the same time, they kind of have that broad outlook on, hey, these are your goals in life. Let's start building and doing things right now to set you up and focused on that way. So yeah, that's what I would recommend.
All right, sweet. Now I have another sort of not a leading question. I have a question about, so like I said, my dad does my accounting for me. He uses Wave, whatever Wave for accounting, whatever online app. And as the transactions come in, he'll categorize them and everything like that, which is nice, because then at the end of the month, I have my revenue figures and my expense figures in one report, and I can see the revenue and expenses per category. So I know how things are going with, my sales for my main Java course, and I know how things are going for my sales for this course and that course and whatever. So it's nice and categorized like that. Beautiful. But then he does he goes through some sort of process. I guess it's I don't even know if is it called balancing your account, or like, he goes through some process at the end of the month, or maybe it's every day, and it seems like it's a lot of work. And I'm wondering if that's something that you would give to your accountant and they can do in a second, or if it's something that you most likely would do for yourself and your business as the little bit of accounting that you would do, so that you wouldn't have to pay someone $200 an hour to do these little, whatever it is that he does that I never ask about. So can you shed some light on that?
Well, so there's all sorts of things that you can do with your books once you have those numbers, right? Like you can draw KPIs from it. You can basically figure out like correlations and drivers in your business. You can make like real-time projections, like similar to what you did, and we've talked about a ton of times with your chart, and like seeing, hey, I'm headed this way. I need to do this to get it back on goal. So there's all sorts of things when you have that data on your books, like where you're spending money, what the cash flow looks like, everything else. That's when you can use that data to make real-time projections. And if you're interested, I got a few book recommendations that are absolutely fantastic and can kind of give you an idea how, yes, we all like make our books, right, in a company, but there's certain ways of accounting that offer certain benefits for you, specifically in terms of like tracking and projecting stuff with your business. Keith Cunningham's Keys to the Vault, fantastic.
Keys to the Vault?
I think it's Keys to the Vault. I know we posted it as it was on United Business Leaders, one of our books of the day. So go to our Instagram and you'll find it somewhere in there. I can look it up real quick.
It looks there is a Keys to the Vault book. If I go and look at Keith Cunningham, you got it.
Okay, yeah, that's a fantastic one. It talks about, if you're doing your books on your own, or if you're hiring a bookkeeper, accountant, there's different ways that you can have them report and like what that means. And that's a great read that really can explain the power of finances and how to like navigate the accounting world in that sense.
Cool. Good resource.
Yeah. The other one, if you're really, and this is a firm that I've spoke to several times, and I'm going to utilize them this upcoming year. But Provision, they're based out of Arizona. Tom Wheelwright is the founder, and he wrote a fantastic book. I know we've mentioned it before. I forget what the title of the book is. Tom Wheelwright of Provision. It's in the Rich Dad Poor Dad series, and I thought it was absolutely fantastic. One of the most well done tax books I've ever read. And wait, did you get it? I think you got it.
I do have it. Keep talking. I'm gonna go get it so that I can show it the cover. But yeah, Keep going. I'll be right back.
It's just, it's a fantastic book that really explains a lot of the whole accounting process, and I love it because it's like, you talk about taxes and stuff, and everyone like clamps up. There it is, tax-free wealth. Everyone kind of clamps up and they're like, oh gosh, taxes, like we shouldn't be talking about this, everything else. And like the tax code is so complicated. And he tees up the book with like a perfect way of saying it. He's like 99% of the tax code is written so you can deduct money, right? So it's like essentially
you can get money back in your pocket. 99% of the tax code is all about giving you the ability to get money back in your pocket.
So it's not like 99% is written to cost you more money. And I was like, holy cow, that's a really good point. I've never thought about that.
The other thing, I'm going to cut in now because I've read a part of this book and I like it. And again, I'm not an accountant, so this is he speaks well. He presents the information well to people who are essentially noobs with respect to accounting. But he says, look at that! I spent my time blabbing about it, and now I've forgotten my point. So he talks about how much a tax code is structured to give you money back. Oh, and he says that governments structure it this way so that to incentivize you to spend money where they want you to spend money. So governments will give you tax breaks in places like real estate for maybe low-income housing because they want entrepreneurs and businesses to spend money to create low-income housing because it's good for the society.
Green energy or all sorts of stuff like that. That
was cool. I like that. They're telling you where they want you to spend the money, and then you're just spending the money and claiming the rebates because they're giving you big rebates.
Yeah, and it makes it actual positive ROI type project too. It's a brilliantly written book. Like it was a random purchase of mine. Like I just saw it pop across Amazon, and I was like, I'll check it out of curiosity. So glad I did. But yeah, their accounting firm, Provision, out of Arizona, really forward thinking. I've spoke with them a few different times, and great people over there. The other service that I have not utilized, but I've looked at and referred to a couple times, I think it's book.io, booking. No, it's book. Let me check it out. But it's basically a bookkeeper for. Nope. Shoot.
We'll see what he gets to.
Yeah.
But the following, so as you're looking for that, the follow-up question, and I forget when we started this. We started around 2 p.m.
Bench.co.
Sorry, say again.
Bench, BENCH.
Bench.
Co.
.co. Okay, sorry. So keep going about it. What about it?
Basically $130 a month, and you can get essentially what your dad does, Trevor, right? He takes care of your books, organizes everything. So
$130 a month for that service.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially, you have them do the legwork that you would normally be doing, and then once that's all done, at the end of the year, you would pay an accountant something like, $200, $400, $600, $800 one time to do everything in terms of submitting it, and yeah,
exactly.
Do they submit your taxes, or do they prepare it for you to submit?
Who's that? The accountant?
The accountant, yeah.
Typically, it's always like, for me, it's always like, hey, Carter, here's your taxes, sign here, here, and here. By the way, you owe this much money, and this much money. And it's so organized, though, you're just like, oh, shoot, that's a lot of money, but I'll sign it, put it in the mail, it's good to go.
So you actually ship it out yourself, not them, right? Okay. I just wanted to...
Yeah, because you have to sign a bunch of stuff and everything else. But like the bench.co, yeah, it's fantastic because from what it sounds like, again, I have not utilized the service, but you're going to get that organization and take what we were just talking about. Like read the Keith Cunningham book that talks about the different ways that you can prepare your books so you understand the financials and like what certain drivers are in your business, and then have someone like Bench do it. And I mean, you're going to be a wizard when it comes to the numbers of your business. Like that's just fantastic. So
how did you hear about bench.co?
I think I saw advertisement and I was like, whoa, this is cool. Geeking out on finances.
Nice. Total finance geek, this guy. So, all right. Again, I don't want to have this going too long. I had a chat with the content writer that you've hired as well on your team, Mark. And I promised him to keep these episodes to half an hour, and if they go any higher than half an hour, then I need to pay him more because that's the fair way to do it. So I'm going to try to stick to my guns here. So I think what this conversation, we've just scratched the surface with. You've given some great resources, a couple of books that they can pick up and read, and some great apps that they can use to help facilitate the whole accounting process, which is awesome. But there's still so much to talk about with respect to, like, where do you start with it? Once you've gotten all that stuff together, like, what should you be doing on a monthly basis? Are there any recurring tasks on a weekly basis, daily basis? Really getting into the more of the nitty gritty of the day-to-day stuff. I want to dive into that probably on the next episode.
Okay, cool.
So as much as I know we want to talk about it right now, I just want to keep it as short as possible in terms of the half-hour time slot. So what can we do to wrap up this conversation? What's the most important thing that you can share with the listeners with respect to accounting that we haven't yet talked about that'll give them a good leg or a head start with respect to their accounting for 2016?
Yeah, take action somewhere from something that we said. So that's either picking up an actual one of those books we recommended, reading through that, or downloading one of the apps that we talked about, either Shoebox or the Self-Employed Intuit app, or reach out to bench.co or even Provision and just talk to them about some of the stuff you're doing as a business owner and see if they're a right fit. So just take action on one thing, right? You're gonna move the ball forward.
Because that's gonna get the ball rolling and get you going in the right direction for your business in 2016, right? 'Cause that's the whole point.
Totally.
You need to start somewhere. That's where we can start. And then probably in the next episode, we'll go further into this conversation because it is such an important conversation to have. Because I know if I know I would have to ask all these questions that I'm already asking if I didn't have my father as my CFO who knows a thing or two about accounting. So I'm in a lucky position, but perhaps other people are not. So they need to go through and deal with this stuff, which can be a headache for someone who doesn't have an accounting background. So we'll pick it up next week from where we left off, and hopefully we'll give you some good stuff. So there you go. I guess we'll hit the terminate button on this episode for this blab. This is, like I said, the first time we're trying this out. We'll see if we do it again next week once I see the recording of this episode, and if I can figure out how to pull up the audio and all that stuff, then we'll do it. But check out the show notes for this episode at coderstartup.com/49. Did we say
49? I believe
49
so. Yep.
is this episode number. There you go. So you check it out there, and you can see a recap of all the books and everything that we talked about, and all the tools and apps and everything. So very good, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for joining, and we can't wait to see you next week in episode number 50. Take care of yourselves.
Awesome. See ya.
Peace out.